There's a lot of young players that are breaking.
All right. So this is the
Jalen.
boy. This is the boy SROS. I don't know how to say my man's name. I watch some of his videos from time to time. He's pretty cool. He's pretty chill. I like his commentary. So we're just gonna get into it. The most disappointing young stars this season. There's been a lot of them. I don't know why Franz is up there. The boy Franz been killing it. So hey, I don't know what he talking about right now. But the boy Franz don't need to be on there. Franz is putting up numbers with Paolo injured. You know what I'm saying? I was hating on Franz because last year his game 6, whenever he did the 1-17 or whatever, the boy was trash. Okay, that playoff series was not his best. Paulo wasn't Paulo's best either, but Paulo was dropping like 39. I'm like, Paulo was putting up numbers. You get one field goal and you're supposed to be the number 2. Like the Magic, I feel like, even though they're young, they're gonna be judged on like future success in the playoffs because they've got 2 stars in Franz and Paolo, and it's just putting people around them. But I'm talking like I'm this is my video. I'm just reacting. I'm just chilling. Let's get into it.
Williams, Bilal Koulibaly, Jared McCain. But on the other hand, there have been some young players that have been the opposite this year and have been disappointing. So today, I want to talk about the young players that I had very high expectations for going into this season that I think have been disappointing.
You smack. I'm sorry. Let's keep rocking.
So and these are going to be players that are still on their rookie contracts technically, so you could be from the 21, 2, 3, or 2024 draft class. So the first player I want to talk about is somebody that I loved going into the 2022 draft class, and that is going to be Jabari Smith Jr. It's funny because going into
facts.
to that draft class, we had no idea who's going to be the #1 overall pick. It's swapped from Jabari to Paolo Banchero.
Of the top 3, Paolo has been the best as far as injury and everything else goes. Jabari Smith, solid player, but man,
On
them numbers.
draft night, and it looks like the Orlando Magic made the right decision. Jabari Smith Jr., though, was dealt a bad hand right away. He was under Steven Silas as a head coach in his rookie season. That team was just an absolute disaster. It had no leadership. They barely had any chemistry. It was a mess. Last year, under Ime Udoka, you saw the flashes for Jabari Smith in year number 2. And what we saw at Auburn, it always was going to take a little bit of time for Jabari Smith Jr. to develop. Now, I just don't know if it's going to happen in Houston. So far this year, Jabari Smith Jr. is averaging 11.5 points, 6.5 rebounds. He's shooting 42% from the field, 31% from 3. He's averaging just 0.4 steals and 0.4 blocks a night for a big man that is playing 28 minutes a night, which is also a career low for Jabari Smith. He's shooting just 34% on catch and shoot threes, 11%.
With Amen Thompson right there, bro, they own him. And Alper and Sengun, they doing nothing but getting better, eating up more and more minutes. Like, they could really run small with Alperin at the 5, and the way Amen Thompson and Tari Eason play defense, bro, they can run them. They can run that small lineup with them guarding 3s and 4s. So Jabari's role is definitely getting more redundant. But I feel like, that jumper is so clean. I just feel like he need to get in that gym and work on the jumper. If that jumper start falling, like more consistent, or that handle tighten up and he can start driving past cats, I feel like it's like Houston own the West. Like, if he or Jalen Green can take that next step, like, it's just small stuff they need to do to tighten the game up.
From 3 on pull-up threes. And
but he right. He 100% right.
Mid-range game also hasn't been great this year either. And I still have a lot of stock in Jabari Smith Jr. I still think he could be this versatile big that could space the floor.
For sure.
Like I said, though, I don't know if it's going to happen in Houston because the #1 and #2 options, you got Şengün and Jalen Green, are also incredibly young on that team. You have Fred VanVleet getting a lot of reps right now. Amen Thompson and Tari Eason look like they need to be in their long-term plans for what they could do defensively. And I just have a feeling that Jabari Smith is going to be the odd man out, especially if Houston wants to make a big trade eventually, and he could headline a package. He has been a little bit better as of late, which is encouraging to see. Had a good game against the Indiana Pacers and a good game against the LA Clippers, where he dropped 20+ points in both those games and over 60% shooting. And you see the flashes in Jabari Smith. We just haven't really seen that consistency with them. And I know they're not trading for Giannis or anybody like that now, but if they wanted to add a really good player at the deadline, would he be somebody that could go? That'd be better for his career just to have a new change of scenery. The next player I want to talk about is Scoot Henderson, a player I loved going into the 2023 draft class. He was my number 2 player over Brandon Miller.
Had a rough go. Scoot, bro. I like to go back and watch them videos of all the people talking crazy on Brandon Miller compared to Scoot Henderson. I love those videos. I love those videos to just hear people be wrong.
Going into that draft, and he has had not an encouraging year number 2. Now, I went a lot in depth on my Just Ballin' channel where I made a whole video dedicated to Scoot Henderson and what we've seen this year. Am I out on him in the long term? And Scoot this year, I think has taken marginal steps, but not as big of a leap as you would like to see, at least through the first 15 games this year. He's currently nursing a thigh injury, and he did suffer some injuries last year. Scoot Henderson this year is averaging 11 points a night, 5 assists. He's shooting 40% from the field, which is up from 38% last year, but his 3-point percentage has dropped. He didn't get off to...
Yeah, with him being as small as he is, if his three's not falling, then it's really a no-go because he's not that good of a passer, and his defense ain't shining that brightly. So it's like if his three's not falling, it's a rougher Scoot, bro.
To a great start last year in his rookie season with his 3-point shot, but it really came alive in the final few months. But this year, he's shooting just 28% on threes. He's still a good free throw shooter, but he is getting to the free throw line a little bit less, which is also alarming. He has been better on defense, in my opinion, and he's shooting just 15% on pull-up threes, but 39% on catch-and-shoot threes. He has been better on the defensive side of the floor, in my opinion, but the Blazers are better when he is off the floor statistically. So it's not...
Oh, I didn't even know that, bro. I mean, the Blazers, I feel like if he was as good as he was supposed to be, with the way Klingon is protecting that rim and the way he rebounded and playing out, like, they could have traded Ayton and probably been in contention. They really have some nice pieces in Portland. They just not all put together. Like Jeremy Grant, I thought Jeremy Grant could have helped them to at least like a play-in spot, but he is definitely stuck in the mud right now.
In the year 2 leap that you would like to see from Scoot Henderson. I think he has taken steps in certain places, but overall for the draft pedigree he had, and I know he had super high expectations to be the next great guard for this team in the post Damian Lillard era, it's just not with this version of the Blazers team right now, and I don't know how much it's going to change throughout the course of the season. So I think Scoot Henderson and Jabari Smith Jr. have been disappointing with their play so far. This player I'm going to talk about hasn't played a game this season, but that's why I think it's disappointing, because he has struggled to stay healthy.
Man, I said this on somebody posting. It's probably controversial, bro. I feel like with Melo, bro, like that team, I feel like they're going to have to trade LaMelo in Charlotte. Like, they keep drafting these players, bro, and it's like, you got to move off. I feel like you got to move off Miles and you got to move off LaMelo and just let Brandon Miller be that piece. And then, like, because I don't know. I just feel like it's LaMelo's game, bro. It's just something about it that's just like it don't lead to wins. I don't know why. I mean, he been injured. Maybe that's part of the reason why. But I just feel like Brandon Miller, they got one. Hey, start drafting. Like, get him. They got so many guards up there. Like, they could really trade Melo for some dope pieces and like start actually contending. I just don't think like Charlotte's not the place for LaMelo. Like, I feel like LaMelo need to go to like, you know, somewhere where the offense is crazy. Like, I feel like LaMelo and Ty Lue for the Clippers, I feel like that'd be crazy because it's hella structured, hella systematic. I feel like he could really shine up there. But Charlotte, they just ain't got it, bro. They ain't got it for his play style. His play style needs more structure to be super, super successful at the NBA level, clearly.
Healthy in all 3 years of his career, and that's Mark Williams of the Charlotte Hornets. Mark Williams didn't play a ton to start off his career, but he ended up playing 43 games in his rookie year, dealt with some injuries during that time as well. But in year number 2, after a strong finish to his rookie season, he just played 19 games as a sophomore. Now, those were really good 19 games where in 26 minutes, he averaged 13 points, 10 rebounds, and shot 64% from the field. Looked like he could be a legitimate rim protector for this Hornets team for a long time. But this year, he's still yet to play a game with a foot injury. And now maybe the Hornets are being cautious with Mark Williams because they want him to be fully healthy. And we've seen players struggle to stay healthy in the first few years. And then those are...
I can't think of homie name. Mbiamite, is that his name that play down there right now in Charlotte? My man rebounded his butt off down there. So it's like Mark Williams, take your time to get back. Like they got, like I said, this new regime out there in Charlotte, they seem to be like doing their stuff, drafting right. They drafted Brandon Miller over Scoot. They getting some nice pieces. They did that trade at the end of the year that brought them in Trey Mann, the young Iverson. You know what I'm saying?
behind them and they're healthy throughout the rest of their careers. And I'm hoping that's the case with Mark Williams. I just think it's been disappointing that we have struggled to see him play consistently in the first 3 years of his career. I love this player's rookie season, and there was a reason why they didn't want to trade him in the offseason in a Lowry marketing trade or any trade in general, and that's Brandon Podziemski of the Golden State Warriors. But he is in the middle of that sophomore slump. Last year, Podziemski was great in his rookie season, over 9 points a night, 6
led the league in charges taken. I remember that. I think he was number 1.
rebounds, 3.5 assists, and was a positive shooter. This year, it's been the opposite. He's shooting just 37%.
Oh, bro, you got to talk about the charges, bro.
From the field, 18% from 3 on a little bit more volume from downtown than we saw last year. He is still not a good free throw shooter, and he's averaging less assists per game, less rebounds per game, and is averaging 7.7 points per game as well. His true shooting percentage this year is 43%, which is in the bottom 13th percentile in the NBA. Now, I do think he impacts the game in other ways as well. I think he's an active player in transition. He's a good defender, and I think he gives 110% and can make winning plays that isn't just putting the ball in the hoop. But the expectations we had for Podziemski going into year number 2 were so high on what he could be to replace Klay Thompson in a way, and the player he could complement Steph Curry in that backcourt both defensively and offensively. But yeah, it just hasn't been the Podziemski that I expected. I don't know if you guys had these high expectations for Pod. We'll just stay on Golden State because I think Jonathan Kuminga has also been disappointing. The first 2021 draft class player we'll talk about, he is fighting for that next contract.
And that boy Gil was trying to roast Golden State for how they did it. Yeah, he got to tighten up.
In fact, the Warriors didn't give it to him in the offseason. He was floated around in trade rumors a little bit, but with the Warriors performing so well this year, it's crazy that their 2 young players, Kuminga and Podziemski, that they could potentially build around are not really main reasons why the Warriors have been good this year, as Jonathan Kuminga so far through 15 games is averaging 13 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists. The field goal percentage has dropped from last year at 52% to this year at 44%. The 3-point percentage is down. The free throw percentage is cratering, and he's averaging less points, rebounds, and assists from his breakout 2024 season. He's shooting just 16% on pull-up threes, 31% on pull-up twos, and it just does not feel like Kuminga is going to operate well or to his highest potential in this Golden State Warriors offense, which is very unorthodox compared to some other teams. And for Kuminga to reach his highest potential, I think it may be better that there's going to be a change of scenery down the line.
Sure.
Like Pods, a lot of people were quick to put Jaime Jaquez in a top 5 in a 2023 redraft. And when I made my 2023 redraft at the end of last year's season on this channel, a lot of you guys were upset with me not putting Jaquez in the top 10 because I mentioned that Jaquez was 20.
Hot take alert. Hot take alert. You feel me? Is this year's rookie class as disappointing as this last year's, which would be this year's sophomore class? I mean, outside of Wemby. I feel like outside of Wemby. Like Wemby aside, you know what I'm saying? Because Wemby's one of them generational players. So outside, like, because I feel like, yeah, I guess not. Yeah, this year of this rookie class been trash, bro.
23 years old last year. He's going to be 24 years old.
I was like, yeah, but I was like, nah, Brandon Miller killed 19. I don't even think no rookie's averaging 19. The closest one is Jared McCain, and he had 16. So I'm like, nobody even close to Brandon Miller. And Brandon Miller was the number 3 pick, so, you know.
At the end of this NBA season, some of the other players in this draft class are going to be 20 or 21 at the end of the year. So this is pretty much what Jaime is going to be throughout his career, and his numbers are pretty much down from last year's season.
Bro, what? He hating. Bro, that was hate. What?
Redraft. And when I made my 2023 redraft at the end of last year's season on this channel, a lot of you guys were upset with me not putting Jaquez in the top 10 because I mentioned that Jaquez was 23 years old last year. He's going to be 24 years old at the end of this NBA season. Some of the other players in this draft class are going to be 20 or 21 at the end of the year. So this is pretty much what Jaime is going to be throughout his career, and his numbers.
Bro, that is not facts. That is not facts, bro. Like, what does that even mean that he not going to be the... What? That's hate. That's hate. To say somebody at 24 is going to be the same player that they always going to... That's crazy. They second year in the league, that's hate. That's hate. My man coming off hating right there. I'm not saying that he might be the same player for the rest of his career, but this is his second year in the league. All he has... If his minutes fluctuate, his averages change. If his three-point shot increases, like what does he mean always? If he gets 4% ticks more better at 3-point percentage, that opens up everything else in his game. That's crazy. That's crazy to be like, yo, your second year, I see exactly what you're going to be at age 23, 24. That's crazy. Specifically because he in Miami where, man, that's crazy. where they limit what you do to a certain extent. But we gonna keep rocking with you, bro. That's crazy.
Are pretty much down from last year's season. He's averaging just 9 points per game, down from 12 points per game last year. The rebounds are up, the assists are up, the 3-point percentage is up.
Like, to say that, man, that's crazy. Because Duncan Robinson, like, why is Duncan Robinson still out there starting, bro? Y'all really telling me Duncan Robinson deserves to start over Jaime? I'm not saying that. I'm just saying Miami limits you to a certain extent. That's my whole point. That's my whole point. I'm not saying it's a bad organization. They're a solid organization. But to say that about Jaime when he's in an organization that specifically puts you in specific roles for your play style is crazy.
Up, but the field goal percentage is down. It's basically swapped because he was good from 2 last year, but not great from 3. And this year, he's much better from 3 and a lot worse from 2 this year. He's shooting just 45% within 10 feet, which is not very good in this league. And I don't think Jaime Jaquez is a great defender either. So maybe when the shots start falling at the rim, he's going to be a lot more productive of a player. But I think Jaquez is not reaching that leap that we thought he could take after last year, because it did look very polished in the first half, slowed down a little bit in the second half, and is looking a lot more like he did in the second half last year than the first. I'm a massive fan of Jalen Duren. He was one of the youngest players in that 2022 draft, but I think this year he's not taking that year 3 jump when a lot of players around him are. And the Pistons have been better defensively this year under JP Bickerstaff. I'm going to give him a Logan last year because he wasn't great defensively, but nobody was under Monty Williams. It was a disaster.
Shout out Monty Williams, cashing checks.
This year, though, I don't think Duren has really progressed on either side of the floor. The Pistons are a lot better defensively and as a team overall when he is off the floor. His minutes have dropped by 5 per night. Isaiah Stewart, I think, has been better than Duren this year. His points have dropped from 13.8 to 8.8 this year, and he's still pretty much a one-dimensional big inside. I like his playmaking ability, and I think he's still insanely athletic. I just want to see that defensive leap, which we haven't seen in year 3. The next player we're going to talk about, still on his rookie deal, technically making $2 million.
I don't disagree with none of that.
$20 this year, but he's going to be making $18 million next year, $19 million in 2027, and $20 million in 2028, and that is the 31st pick from the 2022 draft, Andrew Nembhard. Now, Andrew Nembhard hasn't played in a little bit due to a knee injury. He only appeared in 7 games so far this year, where he shot 38% from the field, 23% from 3, and averaged 7 points per game. But that is not what we expected out of the gate after the playoff run that Nembhard had last year in the conference finals against the Boston Celtics.
For me to be so close to Indy, I'd be surprised that I don't follow them as much as I do. I'm not familiar with Nembhard's game at all.
When Halliburton was out, Nembhard went off for 21, 8, and 4 every single night. He was an elite 3-point shooter as well, and even hit a massive game-winning shot against the Knicks in the Eastern Conference semifinals. Now, I wonder how Nembhard is going to be when teams know how to guard him, how to defend him. How is he going to be in maybe a slowed-down offense compared to at times last year? I mean, the Indiana Pacers have had their own issues with Tyrese Halliburton this year, so maybe they just got issues to figure out in that backcourt. And I'm not going to be too concerned about Nembhard, but he is 24 years old. Just something to keep an eye on. So Josh Giddey was traded last offseason to the Chicago Bulls from the Oklahoma City.
The Giddler.
Thunder. We all know why they did it, but this was going to be a fresh start and a change of scenery for Josh Giddey to go back to what he was in that 2022 season, in 2023 season with the Thunder, this year for the Bulls. I don't really think he's taking that step this year, and like Jonathan Kuminga, he is a restricted free agent at the end of this year. He's one of the few rookies in the top 10 last year that didn't get a contract extension in the offseason. He was one of the few top 10 picks from the 2021 draft that didn't get a contract extension in last year's offseason. This year, Josh Giddey is averaging 12 points.
Man, that's a bad trade from the Bulls' perspective, bro. I know he was a restricted free agent.
6 rebounds and 6.5 assists. He got off to a really hot start with this 3-point shot, but it is coming back down to earth. He's shooting 42% from the field, 35% from 3, and just 68% from the line. He's shooting just 46% within 10 feet as well, which is not what you like to see from a guard of his size at 6'8". And the Chicago Bulls are a lot better when he is not in the game. They are not a good defensive team when he is on the floor because Josh Giddey has not been a good defender this year. I don't think he's earned himself any money so far in Chicago, and it's been disappointing because I always thought Josh Giddey was going to be a really safe player in this league after what we saw in year number 2, but it's just been the opposite. And the last player I'm going to talk about is going to be Max Christie of the LA Lakers. He was the 35th overall pick in that 2022 draft. He got extended by the Lakers in the offseason, and he showed flashes this year, especially in that game against the San Antonio Spurs, but I think he struggled to break out this year. Now, we're still just 14 games in.
Yeah, I'm not. Max Christie is like a solid role player, but I never saw him beyond like being a solid role player. Like I didn't think he was ever going to be. I didn't think he was ever going to be a starter.
And that time can come. He can go on somewhat of a run, and he's still just 21 years old. But Max Christie so far in about 16 minutes tonight is shooting 36% from the field, 25% from 3, and is averaging 4 points, 2 rebounds, and 1 assist a night. And I don't think Christie has done a good job defensively this year either, which is maybe going to make the Lakers regret extending him. Like I said, he's 21 years old. He could definitely turn it around this year. I was just a big fan of Max Christie coming out of Michigan State, and he hasn't lived up to my expectations that I thought he could be so far. So that is going to be it for me. I hope you guys did enjoy this video. Let me know if you agree with this.
For real, he wasn't wrong with nothing he said, Joe. Like, the second year players so far, outside of Wemby and Miller, have definitely been like, but we'll see what happens. But I'm gonna get a video a like. Shout out to that boy. We're gonna see what's coming up next.